Welcome. In my last video, I talked about the sales process and starting that sales process. I talked about how important it is to not waste your time on clients or potential clients or contacts or whoever it is, referral partners that are not a good fit for you and you're not a good fit for them. That's not good for anyone. So speeding up the process, I talked about a 5-minute phone call you can have with anyone where you ask a few basic questions and you find out exactly what's going on. Well, not exactly. You find out what's going on, and you find enough of what's going on to make a decision of, do I want to work with this person? Do I want to carry this forward, or is this a good fit at all? I set up a basic system of talking about the purpose of the first call and then questions you can ask in that first call. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue on here. So let's say you've had your first call with somebody, and it's gone well. You go, yeah, I think this has potential to work out. Now you schedule, at the end of your first call, you schedule, and I talked about this last time, you schedule an appointment. In person's always better, but depending on your service, depending on where you're at, I have a lot of clients. I do a lot of business all over North America. So because of that, I'm sometimes on the phone. I'm sometimes on a Zoom call or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. When you get good at this, it doesn't matter where you are or what kind of form you use, it can all work, okay? I've also done this through a video sales letter where I'm doing this basic sales process without even being present, okay? So once you've got it solid, you can take it to the next level and do this in amazing ways. Okay, so the sale. What is the purpose of the sale? And I'm going to go through this really quickly. I don't want to spend a lot of your time on this. I want to explain it, give you the bare bones, give you the skeleton, and then you can start working with this. If you have questions about sales, if you have questions about this process, please reach out to me, okay? This is something that I'm pretty good at, and I can help you out a lot with this. I actually had a call, as of this recording, I had a call yesterday with a client who, when she first came to me, said, I would talk about sales and she would say, Mark, I'm terrified of sales. I don't want to sell. I don't want anything to do with it. It terrifies me. I'm not good at it. She went on and on about this. We talked yesterday, and I was listening to her process because she's gotten far better in a few months. And I asked her, hey, what are your feelings and what are your thoughts on sales right now? This was her response to me. Mark, I love sales. She said, sales give me an opportunity to engage with people, to connect with people, to ask questions, to listen to people, to hear their hearts, to understand what their needs and their desires are. And it gives me an ability to help them. And we connect on so many different levels. That was her response to me. She said she loves sales now. And this is something that anybody can enjoy, because good sales are not about pushing somebody in a direction they don't want to go. Good sales are not about manipulating somebody. Good sales are about listening really well to somebody's wants and needs. And then once you understand them well enough, which requires a lot of listening, you now connect them with something that works for them. And if that's not you, that's somebody else. But you connect them with something that helps, and you bring value every single time. I love sales calls, yeah, I'm not going to talk about that too much. I'm going to go through this process. I've got a couple of skills and other tools you can use. This is, again, bare bones. This is just going to get you started. Having said that, if you are not doing these things, I highly question whether you're good at sales. You may have a certain close rate, but you're probably not all that good at it. Anyone can sell anything. There's a general rule of thumb that the 10% of the people that you try to sell to will buy no matter what you offer them. 10% won't buy no matter the value you give to them, and it's about the 80% that is the difference between good salespeople and terrible salespeople, okay? Good salespeople are connecting with those 80% and seeing where the best fit is and connecting them with the product or service, okay? So let's get into this. So this is the sale. I'm going to do the same thing that I talked about in the first video. I'm going to talk about the purpose. The purpose is extremely important here. You need to determine, do I want to work with this person? If you don't want to work with this person, if it's going to cost you way too much time and energy or too much stress or whatever, don't do it. The next question is, can you actually help them? If you can't help them, why are you offering your services? That it lacks integrity on so many levels. If you're growing in a certain way, that's fine. And if you want to take a discount for your services or product in order to learn and grow, and so you're giving something of value, they're giving something of value. They're getting someone who's not an expert yet, but you're not charging them as much or anything. That's fine. But you got to ask yourself, can you help them? If you cannot help somebody, you should not be offering your services. I'm going to say that straight out. Okay. Next. The third purpose is to provide value. And the way you provide value is connecting with their wants and needs. And as you connect with their wants and needs, you discover what they truly need, and you provide that to them. The purpose of a sales call is not to talk a lot about your product. That's not the purpose. When I talk about my coaching programs, I don't talk about every part of my coaching program, because every part of my coaching program doesn't necessarily fit what this person has told me they need. So I'm not going to offer them something or talk a lot about something that they're not interested in. That just bores people to death. I've been in calls where somebody says, well, if you act now, you get this, and they're telling me a whole bunch of stuff that I don't want or need. And it completely turns me off of what's going on. I really appreciate a good salesperson. I actually love good salespeople. When I go into any kind of sales situation and somebody listens to me well and then focuses on me and gives me exactly what I want and need, I love buying from those people. It's a fantastic experience for me, okay? Because they're taking care of me on many levels. The way you provide value, we're going to talk about it. It's through the questions that you ask people in many ways. So, in order to determine whether you can help somebody, you've got to determine what their wants and their needs are. Wants and needs are two very different things. I've got a business partner in Ontario, and we often joke that he's a real estate investing guru, and he gives people the information they need in order to purchase real estate. But he has me on his team, or sorry, that's what they want, is real estate and the information. But what they need is a bunch of mindset stuff. What they need is to take action in ways that they haven't been taking action. What they need is to get past their paradigms and ideas that they have that are getting in their way, their beliefs. And so I come in with what they need, Ken comes in with what they want. And we work together, and not that I only do the needs and he only does the wants, we go back and forth, but both parts are important. What somebody needs often is completely different from what they want. I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a lactose intolerance. Let's say you have a lactose intolerance. What do you need? What do you want? What you want might be ice cream. So meeting your desires is maybe giving you lactase pills so that you can eat ice cream and it doesn't affect you in the same way, okay? That will help meet your wants. What you need is maybe to take care of your diet or your body or something that's getting in the way, take care of the root cause so that you actually don't have a lactose problem anymore, or whatever, okay? I'm using a crazy example. But it gives you the basic idea of what I'm talking about. What our wants and our needs are different. Usually our wants are symptom relief. Our needs are the root cause of the problem. So if you keep taking care of people's symptoms, they'll keep needing your help. The ideal is to meet their wants, take care of the symptoms, and take care of their needs. So let's use this in different examples. Somebody wants, you're a tradesperson, and somebody wants, or somebody comes to you and says, hey, I'd like to redo my kitchen. Their needs might be the kitchen. Their needs might be a certain kind of wood. Their needs might be something that you're an expert at and they're not an expert in. Their wants might be completely different. Their wants may be, I want to present myself in a certain way when my friends come over. Their wants might be, I want to make great decisions with this to impress my partner. Their wants might be to simply have ease around the kitchen a little bit, okay? Or to have more cupboard space, whatever it is. But their needs might be a little bit different. You understand their needs, you're the expert. They understand their wants. And so there's a difference between these. You need to you have to discover what their wants and their needs are. Their wants are emotional. And listen to what I'm about to say. If you only hear this one thing in the sales process, this is probably the most important thing. People buy based on what they want, not on what they need. I'm going to repeat that. People buy things based on what they want, not on what they need. Almost always. And wants are emotional. So when you get to what drives the decision, so somebody says they want a kitchen, nobody simply wants a kitchen. They want it for a reason. So when you find out what the reason is behind the kitchen, now you are providing value. Now you're figuring out what is deeper under there. So if you find out that this is about impressing their neighbors, if that's what it's about, then the service you're going to provide is making sure that they have a kitchen that impresses their neighbors. And you're going to talk about that. Because that's what drives them. If they want, I don't know, relationship, if relationship, maybe they're buying a certain product or service and they want relationship with somebody, they want a social network, let's say. Well, give them the social network. They might be buying something completely. So, for example, coaching. Often, I'm selling my services to people, and what they really want is they want a connection with me. They want some kind of mentorship. They don't actually want business advice. They want to have a relationship with somebody who encourages them all the time. So that's what I'm going to focus on. And that is a service that I've bought from other people and that I sell to other people. That's actually a very valuable service. If you've grown up in a family or a community where no one believes that you should be in business, and you've got one person that believes in you and consistently helps you with that and gives you a whole bunch of other stuff besides that in helping you build your business, that can be a very, very valuable service. So it depends. There's a difference between wants and needs. You've got to determine this, because once you understand their wants and needs, you understand what is motivating them right now. I'll give you an example. Let's say somebody wants you think about a good example here. Let's say you are you're a tailor and you're selling clothing, and you have somebody that comes in and says, hey, I would like a dress. If you don't ask a lot of questions and you simply show what you can do with dresses, that might not be very valuable to a person. But when you start asking questions and you say, well, what is the dress for? What are your hopes with this dress? When do you need this dress by? All of a sudden you might find out that it's a wedding dress and that they've got to get married next week, and there's a rush on this and they can't find the service anywhere else. Well, now you know they've got high motivation, okay? Whereas if they say, I kind of want this, and really they don't have a lot of deeper desires or needs there, probably it's best to just skip the conversation. Say, you know what, I've got someone who can help you greatly, refer them to somebody else, and then work with the people who are excited to work with you. That will be far more enjoyable for you in the long term, okay? So, emotions sell. That's where you're bringing your value. Finding out what somebody wants, what motivates them, and then meeting that need, okay? And you're going to bring that up a lot. No, what kind of questions? The questions you're asking funnel a person in. They go from general to more specific. What you're doing is getting a general picture of what they want, and as you discover more, you're going to ask more and more specific questions in order to determine exactly what's making a difference for them. The first question I ask people is consistently, hey, listen, this is my plan for this meeting. Is that okay? I give them exactly what I'm thinking. I'm very clear about the sales process. Hey, I'm gonna ask you some questions. I'm gonna help you with these things, and at the end, if I think it's a good fit, I'm gonna tell you about what I do for a living and invite you to join with me. Is that okay? I always ask that. I'm upfront with this. This is not cloak and dagger manipulation trying to trick somebody. I want to be open. If they don't understand this is a sales call, then we're doing something that is going to be a problem at some point in time, and I don't want to waste my time, and I don't want to waste their time. Be very clear about what you're doing, okay? So I say that, and then usually I start with general questions. So like, what are you looking for? What are some of your goals? What are some of your dreams? Where are you at right now? What are you looking to achieve? I ask those questions. It'd be a general sense of what somebody wants. And general, open-ended questions are going to be fantastic at the start of the call or the start of the meeting. You're going to get a general sense of what somebody wants or needs. Once you start to understand that, you're going to now focus your questions a little bit, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to show your expertise. The way you show your expertise, you can do this in a number of ways. I'm going to give you the simplest way to show your expertise. You ask questions that they don't know the answer to. They may or may not. You're not trying to pigeonhole them. You're not trying to hurt them or embarrass them here. But you ask questions that show that they might have needs that they don't understand. I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm talking to an investor, okay? A potential investor. They're a cash buyer, joint venture partner, and I'm going to be the managing partner. And so they say, hey, listen, why don't I just do this on my own? Like, it sounds pretty simple. And you go, yeah, well, legitimately a lot of people try that. Can I ask you a few questions? And they say yes. And you say, what is your plan for vacancy insurance, or what I call vacancy insurance, for when the building's vacant? How are you going to make sure that you cash flow during those times? And I ask, how are you going to calculate your maintenance costs long term? How are you going to evict a tenant when it gets crazy? Now, most people haven't thought through those questions if they're mom and pop investors. So very quickly they're realizing, oh, I don't have answers to these. I'm in the presence of an expert. I'm in the presence of somebody who understands this, and I don't understand this. And this question has two purposes. One, you're understanding where they're at and whether they do understand this. If they understand all this, you might say, yeah, go do it on your own. Go on your own. I've said this to people. You don't need me as a coach. What you need is an accountability partner. pay somebody far less money for an accountability partner and be happy with it, okay? Having said that, often people do need it. So then again, the second purpose of this is to say, hey, listen, you don't know this, I do know this, I need to assess this, and you need to spend time with me so that you get this done right. What are the consequences? So here you're also going to ask challenging questions. What happens? You've talked about what you want. What happens if you don't get that? What happens if you don't take the right action to get what you want? I'll give you an example. I was talking to a potential client one time, and she said, I'm going to go with this other guy. He's got the same training as you. She was talking to me. He's got the same training as you, Mark, but he's far less expensive. And from the amount of time that it costs somebody to spend time with an individual, to give them really good coaching advice and help and collaboration, he was charging something for his service like $15 an hour. If somebody is calling, 1.5. So if somebody's charging $15 an hour for their services, what kind of quality service are they giving? So what I asked them was, hey, listen, and this lady had asked, this is a few years ago, this lady had said to me, I'm only allowing myself to get one more coach before I give up. And she'd always cheaped out on coaches and gone with the cheapest person. And I said to her, listen, this is your choice. This is absolutely your choice. If you decide to go with the other person, that's fine. Let me ask you this. If you go with the cheaper person and you don't get the help you need, are you going to realize your goals? Are you going to make these changes? And I talked back about these things, her wants and her needs at this time. And she said, no. And when she said no, I realized, okay, I'm challenging her to rethink the situation, to challenge her beliefs. She's thinking I need the cheapest. What she needs to be thinking is who's going to give me the most help. Not necessarily who's the most expensive, and those aren't always the same, but who's going to give me the most help? How am I going to have my needs met? That's the question that she needs to be asking. So make sure that you're challenging with your questions, okay, throughout this process. You know what, I'm going to stop there. I'm going to give you another couple of hints with this. I'm going to give you, through the process, I'm going to give you another couple of needed skills for this, and then I'm going to allow you to figure this out on your own, okay? The difficult part of this conversation is that I can't give you a template for every single industry and every single human being. Your template's going to need to be different. Here's what I am going to challenge you to do. Make sure that you find the answers to these questions. Do I want to work with them? Can I help them? What are their needs? What are their desires? What is their motivation for change? If they have no motivation to change anything, why am I working with them? Why am I wasting their time and my time having this discussion? Because it's just tire kicking. It's not going to go anywhere, okay? Make sure you provide value. How do you provide value? You provide value by asking the right questions, by challenging them in different ways, by showing that you're an expert. One way to show that you're an expert is by saying, hey, listen, have you thought about this? How are you going to do this? And when they realize, I have no idea how I'm going to do that, they realize I need to trust somebody who understands more than me. I'll give you an example with a mechanic. If a mechanic asks me, what are you going to do with the catalytic converter? I have no idea what a catalytic converter is. So if somebody says, I've got a slight idea, I know there are precious metals in it, okay? And if, just because we changed one in a vehicle a few years ago, but if somebody came to me and said, well, do you know what the process is for changing these precious metals and how much it's going to cost you and whether there's a better solution or not, I would say, no, I've got no clue. That's a great question to ask me, because now I go, I'm going to have to trust you a little bit. Now, I might have to do my own research as well, but I'm going to have to trust you a little bit because you know and I don't. Or at least I believe you know and I don't, right? Okay, here's the thing. The last thing I'm going to tell you is come up with a script. Come up with a script of how you get to know whether you want to work with them, whether they can gain from working with you, how you're going to provide value, how you're going to show your expertise, how you're going to challenge them in different ways so that they change some of their belief systems and buy your services if it's a good fit. And I want you to write out a script of different questions, ways you're going to do this. And then what I want you to do is try it out. Try it out with people. You can practice on somebody who is not going to buy your service. You can practice on your mother or your kid or whoever, okay? You can practice. I mean, if you want to work with me, we practice together all the time. But practice is a little bit, figure it out. Here are a few. I just wrote down 4 needed skills with this process. There are more skills than this, but there are 4 needed skills. One is shut up. Ask a question and then shut your mouth. Let somebody else answer. If you ask a challenging question and there's a pause, let there be a pause. Let there be silence. Let them think about this. Let them figure out, oh, wait a second, I don't know what's going on. This person does know. Or, I think I need to trust this person on some level, okay? Let them struggle with hard questions. That's okay. Let them struggle with some emotions. That's okay. The emotions are already there. What you're doing is bringing them to the surface and allowing them to figure themselves out, to realize what they need to do. Don't just constantly talk about your own product. Let them share what they want and need. From what they want and need, you can now share how your product will fit those needs and wants. So you're not going to be talking about your product in all that it can do for somebody. I don't care if it brushes my teeth. That's not what I want. I want shoes. Okay? So don't talk about all these extras necessarily, unless they fit the person. If you've heard, I also want to work on this, and I also want to work on this, but they're not the main point, but they want some other things, then you go, hey, you know what? This vehicle actually gives you this and this as well. That allows somebody to see full value. Oh, wow, it's going to meet my need and my desire, and it's going to fit these other things? Great. It's also going to impress my family. It's also going to, whatever. That's great. So shut up. Only talk about the things about your product that matter to them. Not that matter to you, matter to them. Next, use simple words. If you have certain ideas, certain words that you use in your industry all the time, don't use those words with clients. They don't understand. I'll give you an example. I use the word paradigm all the time. But what is a paradigm? Lots of people don't know what a paradigm is. If you have a word that somebody is not going to understand, so I used the word catalytic converter a little while ago, there's a very simple way to do this. You can bridge the understanding by saying, hey, listen, you need to change your paradigms. Paradigms are kind of like, when you say this jargon is kind of like, and then you give a picture to somebody, that helps them understand. It makes things really clear, very simple. A confused mind says no, so make things simple. For example, if I say paradigms are a little bit like a thermostat. If you have a belief about money that you are only worth $60,000 a year, then you're probably comfortable with 65 or 55, but you're not comfortable with 90, and you're probably also not comfortable with 20. Your paradigm is like the thermostat. If it goes outside of the normal range, it says, warning, warning, you got to stay within here, and it puts in controls to keep you within that. That's the way a paradigm works. So it's a simple metaphor to explain a word, a jargon word that I use consistently, because it's an important word to me. It's important that other people understand it, okay? Next, make sure you create your script. This is a very important process. Create a script. Some people are like, hey, I just want to go with the flow. You know what? When you have a really strong script, you are able to go with the flow far better in a more focused way. Create a basic script that you stick to every single time. And you find out what's working, what's not working, when you lose people, when you don't lose people, when they're excited, when they're not excited, and you consistently change your script. I've got a script. It's actually written on my desk 3 feet from me right now, 4 feet from me right now. Make sure that you've got a script. Lastly, make sure that you record some of your sales processes. Don't do this and then spread them out on the internet. This is people's private information, right? But feel free. You've got to be careful which profession you're in. If you're a lawyer, you can't do this, right? Having said that, if you're selling iPhones, or if you're selling vehicles or whatever, record some of this stuff and review it, especially if you're doing something on the phone. Review it and then destroy it, okay? You're using it so that you can learn. And you can do this in a very easy way. At the beginning of a call, say, hey, listen, or beginning of a presentation, hey, listen, I'm working on my presentation a little bit. I'm working on how to connect with people better. I'm going to record this. Is that okay with you? I will destroy it afterwards. I simply want to review it, see what I'm doing, make sure that I'm taking care of people's needs better, and then I'll destroy it. Is that okay? I'm willing to bet that almost everyone will say, that's completely fine, unless you're in a really odd profession, okay? Most people are going to be completely fine with that, and learn their process. When you record something and review it, you're going to see a lot of the mistakes you make. You're going to see strange things that you do, strange words that you use. You're going to find how many times you say like I just said, and you're going to start paying attention to that so that you don't say it in the future. I'm willing to bet, simply recognizing that for myself, I'm not going to say again in this video. Why? Because I'm aware of it. Once you're aware of things, you can change things. All right? That's it for today. I wanted to keep it fairly short, and actually what I described is so short in the process of sales. Sales is a huge realm. Here's what I want to leave you with. Sales is about influence, not manipulation. It's about meeting people's needs and desires, not about forcing them into a cookie cutter approach that you want to make money at. The more value you bring others, the more money you will make. Those are some basic standards, rules of thumb for you, all right? I want you to enjoy this process. If you want any help with this, if you've got questions about this, if you want to challenge me on any of this, feel free. I love connecting with people on this kind of stuff, all right? Enjoy the process. I hope to hear from you soon. Enjoy. Take care.